Should bass fishing anglers be allowed to create a super team? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. If you're new, my name is Steve Chapman. The no information rule has been crucial this year. It's a rule that the anglers really want enforced. It's probably the hardest one to enforce, but the anglers really want anglers who are getting information to be held accountable for the things or the stuff that's being said to them. Now, you have to remember a few things. The no information rule is about getting information that isn't public. This is key. If you are on the internet and post a video or post a fishing report, everyone is able to view it. So the anglers can view it and use it when they go fishing. Now, if you come up or have someone call you and it's a one-on-one conversation and you tell an angler, look, this is the best place to go fish, Lake Apopka or blah, 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 whatever it is. That information is one-on-one. Now, if the angler solicits that information, they are gaining an advantage and it isn't a level playing field. That's what the no information rule is supposed to do. It's supposed to make sure that anglers aren't bartering for information, aren't soliciting information, aren't asking for help. And if they are, they shouldn't be allowed to fish. They should be disqualified from that tournament. The anglers voted on this and they want this. They want this more enforced. But that brings up the question. We do know anglers are allowed to speak to each other during the tournament and they room together. But does that mean that anglers shouldn't be able to have a super team? You can look at several groups of anglers that room together. That's what I'm considering a team. Take Jacob Wheeler, Adrian Avina, MJD, and Dustin Cannell. Guys on the BPT who are on top of the game. Look at Matt Robertson, Seth Fighter, the Johnston brothers. Look at Matt Airy, at one point Scott Martin, and Scott Canterbury. All groups of people who have roomed together. And when they room together, they're allowed to talk about what the fishing is, how they're doing, what the bite is. And within those groups, you can get a lot of information. But should that be allowed? It is currently allowed. It saves the anglers a bunch of money rooming together, getting an Airbnb or whatever it is. The anglers can share cost on their food, on the housing, and lots of other things. But it also helps anglers with strategy and what's happening on the water all the way around. But we also have to remember, these guys are still competitors. They want to win. But should this be allowed? Should we allow a group of anglers to room together and form a super team? Now imagine you have 4 anglers. We're just going to use that as an example. Not any 4 in particular, but we have 4 anglers. And they can go to 4 different areas in that lake and find out what the water quality is, the water temperature, and all that stuff. How the fish is biting, everything we need to know. They can break down a lake faster. They're using their technology when they're allowed. They're fishing. They're doing everything they need to learn. And they can break down different sections of that lake and come back and talk about it and say, this is what I did. This is what I did. And those anglers can work together while also competing against each other to make sure that they are all successful. Should that be allowed? Now, there's a lot of times that these anglers get together and there's one person that kind of absorbs it all, that seems to be head and shoulders above the rest. There's someone that maybe doesn't listen to it. There's probably a lot of times where they talk about tackle, but not talk about spots. And I think that's really what a majority of the guys do. They don't go into breaking down a certain spot in the lake because they don't want that angler to come fish their spot. But at the same time, there might be some tackle talk on color or whatever lure is being successful. And they use that to gain an advantage as a group and become a super team. Is it more about saving money or creating a small community and being successful as a group, talking fishing and strategizing? Is that more important than saving money? Years ago, before Airbnb, many years ago, I'm going to show my time, anglers would stay in hotels or at someone else's house. I've had anglers stay at my house. And they come and enjoy being in a place where they're safe and secure and that they can have a good time and relax. Nowadays, because of Airbnb and other apps or whatever that is. I don't know the apps right off the top of my head, but they can get a big house, bring their content creator, videographers, photographer, and themselves into that home for an extended period of time, and then break down the lake as they practice. But they're also talking during practice and also during the tournament. And there's a lot of people that say, why are they allowed to do it then and they still can't have an angler, like they can't have a fan go up to them and tell them what's going on the lake? And how important is that no information rule amongst the anglers? And by that I mean there's a lot of people that will talk to each other to figure things out. There's a lot of anglers that will hide what lures they're using. There's a lot that don't room with people. But these days, with tournament fees ever increasing, sometimes they go away, but tournament payouts staying the same except on BPT, anglers are trying to do whatever they can to minimize their expenses. But at what point does the organization and the fans ask, how important is that to happen? And should the anglers be allowed to spend that much time, strategize, talk fishing, and figure out the lake as a group, as a super team, instead of just going out there and breaking it down themselves? Now, I think this is a topic that probably will be up and down for a lot of people. But I do think they should be allowed to room together. That's the God's honest truth. I think it adds a lot of camaraderie and loyalty and friendship that adds to the benefit of fishing. And those teams and groups are able to make content together and have fun and do something different outside of just being focused on fishing. Having said that, I don't know if I would room with anyone, but I'm a lot different than most of the anglers. I'm not really comfortable around people. And I want to, just me, I want to win at everything. And I'm not sure that when you have a group or a team that at some point you don't start to question the honesty of the people that you're living with or rooming with. And that would be something that you'd have to just be very honest up front with those anglers that you're rooming with. But in today's age where, again, the payouts have not increased and it costs a lot more money to do this, to fish, for gas, for tackle, for everything, it makes sense for the anglers to room together. But at what cost? Because there's some guys that room together that just seem to do shitty in the tournaments. And maybe that group or those groups aren't talking as much strategy amongst themselves because they're trying to keep quiet, make sure they do things right. And hats off to those anglers. But there are some that I question that have had experiences with other anglers that maybe should be questioned on what's going on. And are they gaining an advantage by being a roommate of a said person? But what do you think? Do you think we should have groups? Should a super team be allowed? And should anglers be allowed to room together, talk strategy, talk fishing, and everything else that goes on? Comment below and tell me what you think. Thanks to all the new subscribers and all the new members and everyone who's interactive on the channel. I really do appreciate it. This will be a little weird one, but I hope it's good. I hope you like this. But if you do like it and like the content, do me a favor, click that like and subscribe and become part of the team and family. Remember, take a kid fishing, tight lines, cheers, and get your fish on.